So there's someone else now taking on Microsoft when it comes to their 2-in-1 tablets, and it's great to see in this space. This here is very similar to the Microsoft Surface Pro 9. It is the Robo and Color 2-in-1, so it's powered by the Snapdragon 8CX Gen 3 with 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD, and it comes with this removable keyboard here. You can also operate it separately because it has a Bluetooth function, an active stylus. So this digital pen here has 4096 pressure sensitive levels. And the best part for me is the screen. So 12.6 inches. It's an AMOLED screen, up to 600 nits brightness, supports 10 touch points, fully laminated. It does look really good, and more on that later on in this video. And then the build of it all, the total weight with the keyboard is about 1.04 kilos. And the tablet itself is just over 660 grams, making it light. Here is our box, and just under that is the box for the keyboard, which I do have. So the charger, very small, it's a GAN charger, and this has a two-prong style to it, so you just need to pull that down. Now, considering the size of it, the output is very decent, 65 watts, Type-C output only with it, and we do have a Type-C to Type-C cable. Now that's 1.5 meters. There was this little bit of paperwork too within the box. That's just about attaching the accessories, and then the box for the stylus. And this is our stylus here. More on that later on. So it does have 4096 pressure sensitive levels to it. And there is this pouch that they did send over. So very nice pouch here. It uses a magnet on the top just to keep it closed. And they also did include a screen protector for the tablet. The Robo and Color is using an AMOLED screen here, and it is very good, this panel here. More on it soon, and I will measure it for you, the color gamut, the coverage it does have. But it's 16 by 10 aspect ratio, 2560 by 1600 is the resolution for it, and very slim bezels you can see on the left and the right, top and bottom, a little bit larger, but not too bad. So we've got a 5 megapixel camera here at the front that does support Windows Hello to log in, and 1080p video. Then the rear of it here, you'll see we've got an alloy build to it. So this is CNC machined unibody antenna lines here, 13 megapixel camera, and there are 2 microphones in total. We've got 2 speakers too as well, either side. I'll show you those shortly. The Robo and Color branding here on the back, and this is our kickstand. So you can use this to prop up the tablet, and you can put it all the way back like so. So if you're going to be using the stylus on this, perhaps this is more comfortable. You've got it just the angle up a little tiny bit for you. And I do find it's a sturdy kickstand, and when I do press on the screen, I don't find that it wobbles around either. So it's a very nice build quality to it. And just under this kickstand here too, you will find the slot where it does have the SSD. So currently installed with this model, I've got 512 gigabytes of storage, and it does take the 22 by 42 sized NVMe drives, the smaller ones. That's PCIe 3.0 spec with this model. Now the battery within it is 41.4 watt hours. So it does have a fantastic build quality, this finished, rounded corners here, very slim too. So the thickness of this model here is only just 7.3 millimeters. So that's one of the 2 loudspeakers. There's this little pad here which wirelessly charges our stylus. So that fits on with a magnet, like so, holds it into place, and it's very firm. It's quite strong, the magnet, so it's not that easy to knock off this stylus here. And more on that stylus later on. I will give it a quick little test. And then over, you'll see on the left-hand side, we've got the other speaker, antenna lines, and 2 USB Type-C ports here. So unfortunately, there's no Type-A. They didn't manage to squeeze one in. Now, both of these ports here do support power delivery charging. You've got your USB data and also video out of both of them. Along the top, there are the 2 microphones there. So dual array mics, our volume up and down, and the power on button right there. Along the bottom, Pogo port pin connector. So you've got the 2 holes there for the keyboard stays and the Pogo port pin connector. And the keyboard, which is very nice, the build quality of it. So it's plastic here. We've got a touchpad that does have a very smooth surface to it. I find it works well. Even with finer movements, the cursor does not skip all over the place. Delete key, home end right here. Page up and down, they don't seem to be here. They haven't made room for it. And we do have the half-sized up and down keys. Now this is a backlit keyboard here too as well. It's got 4 levels to it. and it's got 1.3 millimeters of travel, the keyboard. Now the other side of it has like the synthetic leather finish to it, which feels very good, and it's really high quality. Every single thing to do with this particular model here is high quality, exceptional build quality really to it. So this moves independently. You don't normally see this kind of style here. See how it spins around where the connector is. So magnetically, this will just clip into place. You just need to hold it up and then it clips in. And there's a whole sensor, of course, in the tablet, so it does know when you close the lid, it'll turn the screen off or put it into sleep mode if you want it to do that. Now, it's a dual mode keyboard as well, because it does have a battery within it. You can run it in the Bluetooth mode right here. So this is to cycle on the backlit keyboard. So we have those different stages, okay? And you can also use that to turn on the Bluetooth mode. So you can have it disconnected and still be using this as a portable Bluetooth keyboard, which is rather handy. And this is what the keyboard looks like now in a dimly lit environment. So this is great if you're, say, on a long haul flight, you're using it, the cabin has been dim in the aircraft, but you're still able to see this keyboard type away on it. And I like the backlighting. It doesn't shine under the keys either, that much at all. Depending on the angle you're looking at it, you don't see that, so it's not going to annoy you. And then typing on this keyboard too as well is very nice, the feel of it. It's not a noisy keyboard. I do like the feel, the feedback we get from these keys, and they don't sound real clackety either when you're typing away on it. So overall, it's a fantastic keyboard, and I'd rate it as the same kind of level as the Microsoft type covers. Robo and Carla has selected a fantastic AMOLED screen than this particular tablet. Now, it is fully laminated. It's 60 Hz only, but I don't find that to be too much of an issue. 90 Hz would have been better, or even 120, but of course that does have an impact on the battery life. So very good colors, really good blacks, of course, being AMOLED. You can barely distinguish the difference between the border here and then the black bezel. Now, the reason we do have the borders top and bottom with the 16:9 aspect ratio is, of course, because it's a 16:10 screen. So the resolution is 2560 by 1600. Touch accuracy and the response has not been a problem at all for me, and it seems to be very fluid. This is just here in YouTube using Chrome, and I can easily minimize things, and the accuracy has not been a problem for me. Now, the color coverage, the gamut here we do have, absolutely fantastic, and this doesn't surprise me being an AMOLED. So we've got 100% sRGB coverage, NTSC is 96%, Adobe RGB is 98%, very good, and then P3, 100% coverage. So very good screen in this model. You will not be disappointed with it. And it is fully laminated, so you don't see any ugly gap between this digitizer glass here on the top and then the AMOLED screen below it. A front-facing camera, which is 5 megapixels, so 1080p with this one. This is what you're looking at now, and I find the quality to be pretty good. Now, I do have a 100-watt light on. It's one of my studio lights at the moment. So the lighting is reasonably good, but it's dark in patches because it's more of a focus kind of light. But I like the fact that we're seeing here 30 frames per second. The dual array microphones as well, those dual microphones do sound good. So it's going to be a webcam that is good for things like Skype, your video chat needs. And the 13 megapixel rear camera, this is a sample of its 4K video, including those microphones again. So you can see the video quality is okay. It's not the best. Your phone will probably shoot better video, but it's a nice option still to have with a tablet, and it does have autofocus. Now, with the display scaling, I am using 200%. I found that that is ideal for this screen size, the 12.6 inches. Now, you might or may not know that this is an ARM chip, so this is not your typical Intel chips in here. This is, in fact, the Snapdragon. It is the 8CX Gen 3 now, which is good, and this is 3 gigahertz. It's got 8 cores, so 4 of them are the performance, the other 4 are the efficiency, and you'll see here 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, it's a 64 gigabyte operating system, Windows 11 that it is running here. Windows 11, you'll see right there, Home. Okay, and I've updated it. And can you run the x86 and the x86-X64 applications? Yes, and I have been running them. In fact, I showed you one just before, okay? So the only thing that I've sometimes noticed is that some apps might not even run at all, and it's very rare for that to happen. Geekbench 6 is one that just won't run for me. However, Geekbench 5 does run, and these are the results here, so you can see promising looking performance. Not bad at all. this ran and it's emulated. So do you notice that actual emulation? Well, not really. And I don't even think the apps know that it's emulating that via ARM. And the only thing I do pick up on sometimes is you may see a delay that when you launch a certain application and it is x86-x64, it may just have a split-second delay because it needs to emulate it, needs to load that engine in first. But normally you don't even notice it, apart from not being able to run some applications like Geekbench 6. So the storage speeds, in fact, I've already run that already. You can see for the drive, this is a PCIe 3.0 drive. Very good. No issues there with them at all. Now, the only benchmark I will show you is this one here. So Cinebench, I managed to run it, but do bear in mind this is going through the engine. It's been emulated, so it doesn't really reflect the actual performance of this. And I will tell you, it feels something like a bit between like a Core i5, like a 7th or 8th gen, the general kind of performance in and out of everything here. So I do find it is normally very quick and snappy. Chrome, I showed you a little bit of that before. So the scrolling, performance is very good there. And you can run various different other apps, which I will be showing you a couple of those now too. So for example, if you decided that you wanted to load up Steam, well, you can load Steam on this, and I even have Counter-Strike there. Now this, of course, again, is going to be emulated. So we'll have a very brief look at that and see what the performance is going to be like. You know, to match, of course, a 16:10 ratio. And the performance is not amazing considering I've got it on the lower kind of settings here, but it is playable. It's around 50 frames per second. So you can do these kind of little light tasks like this, but I see more this 2-in-1 tablet of really being a tablet that I would use for more lighter kind of tasks. Nothing that's too heavy, and especially because it is emulating this. Now I'm just going to die here, of course, going out straight away. But it was just to show you that it can handle these lighter titles, but just don't expect amazing performance. Still, this is so much better than I thought it would be. So after that round of Counter-Strike, you do feel that it gets a little warm around this area on the back, so it gets a little hot to the touch, but the temperatures, they aren't anything alarming. There are 2 copper transfer heat pipes within there that has helped dispersing that heat, and of course completely fanless, zero noise. It's one of the things I really do love about it. Now for simple things too, like this, so imagine you need to use spreadsheets, you've got various information for work that you need to load up. So it's going to be a handle these kind of tasks. They're really good. Although what I've noticed is this is LibreOffice here that I'm using. It can sometimes feel a little bit laggy. And again, it's probably because it's emulating this application, which is x64. So you need to try and find apps that are native ARM, which can be sometimes a little tricky to know if something really is. Now, going through the Play Store, you can use that option to find them, or you can find different builds. You'll find that some applications will be specifically designed for architecture to run off that instead of using the instruction set for x86 or whatever. So that will vary. Now, video playback, there's something that, okay, this is a demanding file right here too. How is it going to handle that? So let's take a look. Now, this is 140 megabits per second, HEVC, and you'll see that it's native decoding here too. So very smooth, no drop frames. In fact, this is handling it a lot better than some of the Intel counterparts, their chips. Even with the native decoding, they sometimes do a big stutter at the start, but that isn't happening. The only thing was probably just a little bit slow to load in first up. And I'll try this as a 4K 60 frames per second. Okay, same deal. It is running absolutely fine, just skipping ahead. There's no slowdown. Really good performance there, not dropping either any frames. And that was an HDR clip too as well that was playing. So good for video playback, light tasks, Chrome, spreadsheets, media, emails, all of that kind of stuff runs really well despite this being ARM-based. The Robo and Color does have stereo speakers. So there's one here, one on the other side. Volume is good. They don't distort at maximum volume. There's a little hint of bass to them. And overall, I'm pleased with the speakers for a Windows 11 tablet. So I'll give you a sample of them now. And this is going to be at 100% volume, just to give you an idea of what they do sound like, which is pretty good, I think. Then our stylus, which, as I mentioned before, this clips on really well. It's a nice strong magnet, and you don't accidentally really knock this off. Now, if you put it into a bag with the type cover keyboard on it, that's already closed up, and then the stylus, it shouldn't come off. I don't really see it coming off. It's not that easy to knock off, unlike some other models out there. So it's got a very good accuracy to it. It's got 4096 pressure sensitive levels, and you do get the hover function that you'll see now. Now this is approximately, just looking at it, about, I'd say, 1 centimeter away from the screen, and palm projection too there, of course. Now with the pressure sensitive levels, I'm in bamboo paper, which should support it. So just pressing very lightly here, seeing a thin line, the harder I start to press, the thicker, of course, the line is coming through. So that is working well. Now the stylus will work right up to the very edge. Not quite actually, you can see it leaves about 1, maybe almost 2 millimeters there is the limit where it will actually work, and then just cut off. And that seems to be the case around the whole screen there when you are using it. Of course, I should actually go full screen with this one. Now, I'll just quickly write here to see what it's like with handwriting. It's not too bad. You can see that was actually my own fault there. I should have lifted up the stylus a little bit more between my strokes there. Let's try that again. You can detect a slight delay there too, so it's not instantaneous. I won't say this is as good as, say, the S Pens that I write on with my Samsung Galaxy S8 Ultra. That seems to be a lot quicker, the latency. In fact, I don't know the latency on this particular pen, the exact figure of it, so there seems to be a little bit of a delay there. I do that, just a quick little scribble. You can see there's a bit of a delay, but I like the accuracy. The pressure sensitivity seems to be working well. Palm projection I'd rate as average. It just doesn't seem to be the fastest stylus out there when it comes to when you write. That delay there, it seems to be just a bit slower than other pens out there on the market. And then battery life, for a 41 watt hour battery, it does fare really well, because if this was running an Intel chip like, say, a Core i7 or Core i5, you would not be able to get the kind of battery life that I can get out of this. So with the screen brightness set to normally around 40 to 50%, just light tasks, so mainly just in Edge, Chrome, a bit of Gmail, YouTube videos, and the Netflix application, I can get around 10 to 11 hours. So that's fantastic all day kind of performance out of it if you stick to light tasks. Now, if you're doing something that's a little bit demanding, which you probably wouldn't really do so much on a tablet like this, as I showed you, it's not really built for those demanding tasks, then that battery life will reduce quite a bit. It'll drop down to probably about 8 hours, maybe 7, but it still should be a full day's use with it. So the keyboard quality, very good to type on, and the touchpad as well is excellent. I would rate the keyboard to be as good as Microsoft's type cover equivalent there. Cameras seem to be all right. We do have the 1 megapixel Windows Hello camera that's separate from the 5 megapixel camera there to log us in, so you don't need your passwords and everything. The general performance is quick and snappy as long as you're sticking to the native ARM applications there. I did notice that some of the x86, the -X64, when it does the emulation, can sometimes be off to a bit of a slow start, and then it does load up. So it's emulating things. The performance won't quite be like native, of course, but still it can run pretty much everything. But there are a few apps that I did encounter. Well, Geekbench was one of them that I just simply could not run. So there's some minor little things there still when it comes to Windows compared to your typical kind of Windows. Now it's still, of course, 64-bit here. It's a 64-bit chip. Plenty of RAM with the 16 gigabytes. The speakers don't sound too bad. A slim, a light package. Overall, I really do like it. And I think it's going to be ideal for people that are just after a all-day work laptop or study laptop. That's going to be great for those light tasks I've pointed out and mentioned just before. What I would love to see in another version is 4G, 5G support would be good. And I wouldn't mind to see one that does also have a full-sized USB Type-A port. I know you can plug an adapter in. They don't include one in the box, but they're very cheap and easy to source. But it wouldn't be nice to have it built into their tablet. So it's a fantastic 2-in-1 right here. Thank you for watching this review.